Cubans in Florida are shocked that they're being deported by record-breaking numbers. And I gotta tell y'all, I'm shocked that they're shocked. Trump was completely transparent. There was no fine print with this agreement. Two things about that guy. He's going to tell you what he's going to do. And those things that he told you that he was going to do that he can't do is simply because he just don't have the power. And he overestimated himself to carry, the follow through with those things. But fortunately, with the deportation, with deporting people, he can deport undocumented immigrants and he could end TPS status like he did for the Cubans, and he could put travel bans on countries like he did for the Cubans. Those 19 countries that he recently banned, Cuba was part of it. And in 2025, he deported 1,600 Cubans, which was double the amount of the deportations back in 2024, right? They have pictures of the Cubans outside this in this detention center outside of Alligator Alcatraz. They have pictures of them back in June lining up together, spelling out SOS Cuba. SOS Cuba. That's what they're spelling out on their shirts or paint on themselves in these facilities. They have pictures of that. So the Cubans are just shocked because these are record-breaking numbers. Nobody deported these many Cubans in the last 3 administrations. And polls show that 7 out of 10 Cubans support Donald Trump. 7 out of 10 Cubans support Donald Trump. The beautiful thing, one of the most beautifulest things about this beautiful country is that you have freedom of choice. And people should respect that. So yeah, this is still, I don't care what nobody say, this is still a banger on my playlist.
I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote.
Raise your hands, come on.
For Donald Trump. Dale cintura, 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 cintura. I will vote for Donald Trump.
The New York Times yesterday released this article. To their shock, right? Cubans in Florida are being deported in record numbers. Just last year, the Trump administration repatriated, aka deported, more than 1,600 Cubans back to Cuba. Now, for context, that is double the number of Cubans who were deported in 2024. And in the years that Trump has been president, he has sent more Cubans back than his 3 predecessors. And that's not mentioning all the Cubans that have been deported to Mexico, to places in Africa, to countries all over Latin America and the world because they had some sort of criminal conviction and the Cuban government refused to accept them back into Cuba. Now, what's crazy is that polls suggest that most Cuban American registered voters, who obviously tend to be Republican, continue to support Donald Trump. But there has been a growing amount of unease throughout the community with this situation. Growing unease in the community, but they still continue to support Donald Trump regardless of their family members, their friends, their neighbors being deported back to the Cuban dictatorship, right? Or to random countries across the entire world for convictions that these folks had in the 80s, 90s, 70s, right? And what's funny to me is the headline, right? To their shock, Cubans in Florida are being deported in record numbers. Because it's the reality, right? This is a shock to the Cuban community here in South Florida, mostly in Miami-Dade, right? In their minds, this shouldn't be happening because obviously there is a dictatorship on the island. The situation in Cuba is worse than ever with health issues, so many different things, right? Unfortunately. But because the Cuban community has benefited from the Cuban Adjustment Act for decades, which has allowed for them to, after 1 year and 1 month of being in the U.S., be able to obtain permanent residency and then obviously become a U.S. citizen much quicker than any other immigrant group in U.S. history. They have this mentality of, I'm up here, other immigrants are down here. We're Americans, we're citizens, come legally, right? That's been the popular mentality for decades here in South Florida. Meanwhile, for people from my community, Hondurans, other Central Americans, Mexicans, people from South America, other people in the Caribbean, it's not a shock, right? Deportation in the history of Honduran immigration, for example, is something very normal. Hondurans have been getting deported back to Honduras for decades. Nothing new. But again, it's the difference in immigration enforcement that now has all come together. The lines have been blurred because now it's everyone.
Cubans in Florida are being deported in record numbers. Cubans have had a long-standing special relationship with the United States of America and have had special immigration privileges for decades now. Cubans were among some of the Latino population who supported and voted for Donald Trump at the highest numbers, lest we forget the Donald Trump song that they came up with.
Vote for Donald Trump, I love my freedom. I will vote for Donald Trump.
While Cubans held those privileges for decades, Donald Trump has changed that. According to an article by the New York Times, has repatriated more than 1,600 Cubans in 2025, according to the Cuban government. That is about double the number of Cubans who were repatriated in 2024, and in years that Trump has been president. He has sent more Cubans back than his last three predecessors. Polls, however, suggest that many Cubans who support Trump still do support Trump, but they're confused as to why they thought they would be immune to ICE raids, immune to deportation, and they really thought they were a part of the MAGA family. At the end of the day, this is one big fuck around and found out and I told you so, because you were always Latino in this country. You were never white. You were never MAGA. You were never a part of white supremacy or a part of the white national identity, my love. Now, beloved, look at you. You and Abuelita are getting separated, going to the panaderia to buy Cuban bread. And that's on you. That is not on anyone else, because you voted for this. And this is not me gloating, because no one should be getting separated from their families. No one should be deported. But you guys were one of the main group of people.
Breaking news, guys. The Donald Trump administration is deporting Cubans from Miami, and they are not happy about it. They are calling on the blacks to help them out, and the blacks do not want to have a part in it because they said they voted Donald Trump into office. And during the period, they even tattooed his face on their bodies and they composed a song for him. You know, I'm sure that they thought that while doing all that will prevent them from being deported, even though those that are being deported are those that don't have their papers, complete papers. So what do you think, guys? Let's talk in this comment section. Let's know what your opinions are. And Donald Trump is in a mission I titled "Show No Mercy." He's not showing mercy even to those that have voted him. This is really sad.